Welcome back to College Football Addiction, a big one on Saturday night in the other Death Valley. But we've got Blake Ruffino from AYS Sports, Ruffino and Joe Show. Man, you guys crush it. I actually spoke with Joe earlier today. I said really good things about him. So while you're on here, I'll at least say good things about you too. How's it going, man? Off season over.
Good. Thank you for having me. You guys are absolutely killing it, or you're absolutely killing it too, man. It's just, I'm glad, TJ, I say this every year. I went to Omaha this past year for the first time, and I feel like because of baseball, and you as well to some extent, I feel like my summer is shorter than most, But then I get into the real world with other people who don't have a spring addiction like I do. I'm like, what do you dudes do? And, we were talking off air about what I was doing, and I'm not even going to get into that. We really need football to get here, and it's here. So I'm really excited, man. The talk is finally over. Don't get me wrong. I love talking about it. It's just you can only say the same thing so much until they become pretty fat, like, oh, this is getting nauseous. And then everything you talk about and all the questions you talk about don't come out Japan, So
nobody knows that more than me last year, brother. So don't be you're preaching to the choir on that one. But yeah, I mean, the summer, same thing. Like, yeah, we finished just short of Omaha, but went to a third game. And then, yeah, like you get 2 weeks in Omaha. But then, yeah, it's such a lull from, middle of June to the rest of the year. But then, I've got 3 little kids at home driving me nuts. So, I mean, you're in a similar boat. So it does fly by. Going back to school, that hit hard. That was great. Those were good days, man. That first week I was like
7:45 is the best time in the morning.
Oh man, drop them off and kick them out the door. So
I hate carpool. By the way, I got flipped off in carpool.
That's incredible.
You could tell people in Louisiana are ready for football when carpool. I wonder how grateful carpool is if LSU pulls out a win on Saturday.
Well, that's what we'll talk about a little bit. My take is that both these teams want this win, and we talk about the 5-game losing streak in week 1. Clemson's 0-3 against the SEC in their last 3 games. I don't think that Clemson is as desperate for this win, but I think they really want it too. But man, this it would not derail either season. Both teams would have chances to come back and have really good years. Somebody has to lose it. And I think obviously somebody does lose it. And I think both teams still have a great shot to make the playoff no matter who loses it. But man, it feels like desperation time for LSU this weekend.
Yeah, look, you're there. TJ, graciously, Brian Kelly has given me access to practices, and we've walked through the weight room, and he said at SEC Media Days that we put 1-0 everywhere, we put the paw print up, and he wasn't lying. When we walk in the team room, TJ, they have 12 emblems, right? They have 3 columns and 4 teams for the 12 games that they play.
Yeah.
And all of that, what's interesting is this year there's only one. It's only Clemson. And so I think that Brian Kelly's message all offseason has been, let's go 1-0. Every week, let's just don't worry about it. Go be 1-0. And I think that has been their offseason talking point. But listen, we talked about this last offseason, you and I. What's the Monday morning news outlet going to post about Brian Kelly if they lose? And the same thing is for Dabo to some extent. You go 0-4 against the SEC in 2 years, you're going to have to start asking some questions. And so, TJ, I could go on a conspiracy theory where I think that in a deeper meaning, this has playoff implications for, do you continue to do AQ model? Do you want to do an AQ model? Like, I think that and Texas and Ohio State has that same mantra to it too. But Brian Kelly's got to get this off of the backs of LSU, right? And can they do it? They brought in a lot of really good players. They have a lot of really good players. I do think that this is the most talented they've been defensively. And you just got to hope. But, man, look, I've gone into this and just saying, TJ, like, you got to go out there and prove it to me. You got to go out there and prove it to the country. You got to go out there and prove it to yourself. I know I had the 3 million clip video about me saying Garrett running right at TJ Parker, and people overreacted to it because, it's people and it's Clemson. But you got to go take it to somebody.
Yeah.
Like, you got to stop pity-patting around. I mean, you had one of the best offenses. Like, I think of 2019 when LSU won by 3 against Auburn. That Florida State team a couple of years ago. I mean, they had the Rookie of the Year defensively and the runner-up. That doesn't mean just because you scored 20 points doesn't mean that you're not a good team offensively. What it means is you're playing a really good team. And so now you got to go out there and take it to somebody. So I think it's more like I can live with you losing. What I can't live with is the way that they've been losing. And that's, I think, a part of what LSU, who for 2 decades, TJ, LSU never, they've lost to Bama, they've lost to teams over the last 2 decades. They never got out-physicaled, right? Like all those LSU Bama games were Nick Saban finds a way to, again, to win by 3. Well, no shit, because it just got to a point where you were 2 really talented teams and it came down to the wire. Can you go out there and physically show that you're ready to perform?
Defensively, I mean, that's where a lot of people will have questions against, one of the better. I mean, the quarterback matchup in this is great. Unfortunately, they're just never on the field at the same time. So I don't know why people make such a big deal of quarterback matchups because they're not really a thing. But a really good quarterback in Clemson's Cade Klubnik. Same thing. Wide receiver matchup in this, not a real thing, but a lot of talent on both sides. How confident are you in LSU's defense to have taken that step against, again, one of the better offenses that they'll see this season?
Yeah, cautiously optimistic. I think of what is Brian Wesco, what is TJ Moore, what is Antonio Williams, and 2 of those guys in their 2nd year, and Antonio Williams going into a 3rd. I'm cautiously optimistic because LSU can't be much worse at their safety position. They just can't. I mean, you remember they were god awful. So I look at that and say, hey, can we make another stop? Can we make a stop? I mean, and that's the part where LSU lost 4 games last year, and the question became, well, will we have won if we made a stop? And I think that's more or less. Now, in this game specifically, TJ, what I'm really focusing in on, Clemson's going to run a lot of mesh routes, a lot of stick routes. They're going to run a lot of drag routes. And one thing LSU's just struggled with the last 3 seasons is tackling in open space. And if they can't do that, Clemson's going to have their way with them. I don't care what LSU's done up front. You go and look at the Texas game from Clemson a season ago, in the first 17 plays from a throwing aspect, outside of one, is them just dumping it off and getting their playmakers the ball in space, and Texas can't tackle. Yeah. And that, to me, worries me because that was a really good secondary they did that against. I do think offensively Clemson found their way at the end of the year to some extent. And so when I look at Clemson offensively, I do wonder if they'll be able to run the football, moving Adam Randall over from wide receiver to running back. Can that offensive line, who's been banged up in the preseason, can they make that next step? Maybe they can. But if LSU can be moderately okay in the running game, I think it comes down to they have 3 really talented weapons on the outside that, TJ, I have no clue if they're going to be able to stop or not.
Yeah, to me, the team's strengths and weaknesses are so similar, which makes the game so fun, right? It can Clemson stop the run? Can LSU run the ball for, they've been so one-dimensional for a while, throwing the ball. Can they actually, will this be the year? We say it every offseason. We said the same thing last year. We said the same thing the year before. Will LSU actually be able to run the ball? And we had confidence the last 2 years that they would, and they couldn't, right? Will they be able to stop somebody? Same thing with Clemson. I spoke to somebody from Texas earlier. Texas could have run for 500 yards in that game last year. If that would have gone, it would have been funny if the game would have gone to overtime to just see Texas hand the ball off just every single time. Hey, we're never going to put the ball in the air, and we will still score every 25. Just add another quarter to it. So, yeah, I am interested to see if both teams' biggest weaknesses can be turned around. LSU on the road here. If this game was in Baton Rouge's Death Valley, I feel like you'd have a different vibe.
I wouldn't be scared.
They've not been bad on the road, but there are blips. There are things. I think about the game in the Swamp. Now, again, I know that the Bama game happened right before that, and so it's that game probably sucked the soul out of the entire fan base and team and everything else. But going on the road here, certainly not the easiest, and we've seen Nuss at times, as great as he has been, have some off performances. Do you worry about that at all?
I do. I think that so there's two things. Like the biggest thing from an LSU perspective that I got hit on from fans last year was me saying that he wasn't ready. Me, and not TJ meaning that he wasn't ready to play. He wasn't ready for what people thought he was going to do. I mean, he threw for 4,000 yards. He had a really good season. But the thing for me is he had 17 turnovers. And I think that, we have a message board. In that message board, somebody posted, all my practice reports from a season ago to this season. Well, TJ, it was like 13 interceptions during practices versus now where he's really limited that. I do think that he has matured in some degree to where I think he's stepping up in the pocket more, not really worried about getting hit and not really worried about traffic. He's shown that in practice. Can he bring that to a game on Saturday? And my worry is not so much him necessarily as much as it is, does the offensive line give up so much pressure that he reverts to who he used to be?
Yeah.
And I think that for me is where the struggles lie, because you can't ask him to go in there and do it all by himself. They got some speed, Barian Brown, Chris Hilton, but it takes time to hit those long routes and those deep routes. So that does really worry me. Now, I look at guys like TJ Parker, who I think is outstanding against Texas. TJ, he was a non-factor. Against Louisville, he was a non-factor. Against Georgia, he was a non-factor. Can LSU make him a non-factor here? Same with Peter Woods. So that's what I look at a little bit here. Does it worry me? Yeah, because if he doesn't take TJ, 17 turnovers is 17 turnovers. And I understand the hype around Garrett, but none of that matters if you don't limit those turnovers. TJ, you cut them in half, and I mean this. He cuts those in half, LSU's a playoff team.
Yeah, they're probably 11-1. I mean, the Bama game is still the Bama game, right? But they probably win everything else. They win the first game.
Very well could.
They beat Florida.
Well, you definitely beat USC. You definitely probably beat Florida, okay? I mean, that Florida game, TJ, they had 40 minutes of time of possession. 40.
It was the most – so I don't remember who we were playing that day, but Florida State was either playing somebody terrible or, I don't know, off or something. And I remember watching that more than I was watching FSU.
Right.
And I was so mad because I was like, dude, LSU is dominating this game statistically, and they just can't finish drives. They keep turning the ball over. Florida's luck was unreal. I felt it with you.
I mean, in that – see, but here's the thing, though. That's the optimism.
Yeah.
Because you went out and you got some players, and I do think from a personnel standpoint, you're better. So that's where the hype really comes from.
Yeah.
But you're not playing the same teams. I think Alabama's better. I think Florida's better. I don't know about South Carolina. I don't know about Ole Miss. I do think those two teams kind of take a little bit of a step back, but you beat both of those teams.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the optimism ultimately comes from, but you're in a situation where look, there are a lot of storylines going into this game position per position. None of it matters. None of this talk matters if you go over there and turn. Let me give an example. We all watched week 0, Kansas State versus Iowa State, okay? Everybody's like, oh, Kansas State this, Kansas State that. They're not that good of a team. They might not be. TJ, they turned the ball over 5 times. And the debate that I had was, no, they had 3 downs on 4th down where they couldn't convert. That's a turnover on downs.
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't show up in the stat sheet, and then you fumble the ball twice. You muff punt and the Johnson fumble. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. It doesn't matter how dominant you are. If you keep turning the ball over, you're not going to win anything. And I think for Clemson's sake, if LSU does do that, they're going to extend it. They're going to extend it. And that's where things get ugly, right? I mean, it is a worry. And so you're going to have to find – you brought up the running game in the beginning of this kind of segment, and I want to kind of counter back to that. I do think if LSU does find a way, even if it's extensions of the run, like what Sark did against Ohio State last year, I think LSU can win. The problem is, TJ, you run the ball for 1 yard per rush, you ain't going nowhere, literally.
Yeah.
So that's the big question. If LSU wins it, it's because they're able to find a way to run the football.
What does Clemson do? We'll ask you this and then we'll wrap up. What does Clemson do that worries you the most?
I think they do everything really good, right? Like their losses a season ago, let's take Georgia out of it. I mean, you don't even really have to do that. Outside of that third quarter, TJ, last year,
Yeah, they played them well.
I mean, they played them
3 quarters. No.
Yeah, very well. I mean, I thought that front seven was very physical. I thought that the secondary was really good. You turn to Texas. I mean, Klubnik put that team on his back, but they can't convert in the red zone. They just do everything really good. I don't know, and they very well may. Can they take that step from good or really good to elite? Can they have a couple of those areas like their defensive line? Will Helt, Peter Woods, T.J. Parker, Woodaz, Sammy Brown. Can they make that next step under Tom Allen? And if they do, TJ, from a personnel standpoint, you got 4 five-star dudes. Like, okay, I mean, like, talent still wins out. Yeah. So I think that if they just do everything really good, and that's what worries me, because I see some holes that LSU has, and that offensive line is the biggest one right now from being out there for 14 days. That scares me the most. But I will tell you, there's one thing that when I look at Clemson that really, and I'm talking about this a lot tonight, they were 121st in the country last year in allowing first downs defensively. So what does that translate to? TJ, on first and second down, they got punched in the mouth in the run game. I'm talking about punch in the mouth. You look at all the teams that you're like, we popped in the last week. We talked about the Florida State game. The week before that, we talked about Louisville. I mean, they're giving up 9 yards per rush in the run game on first down. I don't care how good you are. So I think they do everything very well. The question is I think that there could be a chink in that armor. Can you exploit it? But there's not an area where I look at them and say, oh, man, that's a big weakness. You better go take care of it. Maybe safety, maybe. But I think that that's a stretch, and you're really going to have to stretch that. That's what makes them so dangerous, because that safety play, as it developed at the end of the year, I mean, look at what happened to Ewers in the second half. I mean, they're taking away everything because they're tricking him, and they're growing, they're experiencing. The team I saw in the first game versus Georgia is not the team I saw versus Texas. So I hate to cop it out and just say they're good all over the place, but TJ, I can't. Dabo has recruited good enough. I don't know if they have the depth, but they are good in the top line. The question just becomes, hey, was it personnel or was it scheme defensively? Yeah. Because if it was scheme, then they're cooking with grease. But TJ, I've said this on Ruffino and Joe. I've said it everywhere. When you're doing inside zone run, there's no scheme. Like we try to oversimplify or overcomplicate this. It's not scheme. It's the same thing every single week against every single team. Isaac Brown's inside zone run that they ran 19 times out of 26 plays. 19. The same run out of the same personnel in the same formation. There's nothing spectacular about it. But they just, at the end of the year, did everything very well. So that's what scares me the most because, look, it's a fine – when you go up against really good teams, it's a fine line like Notre Dame and Ohio State last year. They had better athletes on you at the outside. That's it. That's what literally separated them. So I think that's what literally kept me up until 2:37 a.m. last
night. Tell everybody where they can find you, man. You guys do a great job with the national stuff. I tune into a lot of the Ruffino and Joes or catch the replays or catch the clips. I like all of them. They're all really good. So I would encourage anybody that watches this to go check those out as well. But where can people find all of that, and then give me I know you're back and forth on this, but give me your thoughts as of Tuesday night. So this could subject to change, but what you think happens on Saturday?
Yeah, so Ruffino and Joe shows where you can catch it, and I know that you're killing it as well, man. You guys specifically do a fantastic job on what y'all are built. But Ruffino and Joe show now Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We're adding today. Shout out to our good friends over at FanDuel, but that we're adding today, so Sunday through Wednesday. AYS Sports, if you want LSU talk, and that's where we break it down. In reference to the game, TJ, I'm going to pick Clemson to win. I don't have like a score prediction, but for me, I need to see Clemson. I need to see LSU go in there and do it. And I know I'm going to get killed this week, and especially if they win, I'm going to get killed. But it is my job to be truthful and honest. And
Yeah.
quite honestly, you got to go out there and show everybody that you can do it. Now, I'd be the least shocked person if they do it. But I think Clemson gets it done late. But that's where I'm going to sit.
If this game was in Baton Rouge, I would probably take LSU because it's in Clemson. I think I'm leaning their way. But again, I think it's a coin flip, and one team's lucky it's at home this year, and the other one's probably going to be lucky it's at home next year too.
Oh, look, everybody's picking Clemson, and Brian Kelly's got to sell it out. I will tell you this, just so before we leave, I promise. I've been out there for 40 years, and it's been very gracious. They ain't shown this level of intensity, and I got to give him. Brian Kelly's. I mean, I ain't seen. Listen, a lot of people make a lot of things about him. This has been the most intense he's been because he feels the pressure, right? And so we'll see. Intensity doesn't win, but please, sweet Jesus, let it. That's what I'm at. Please, sweet Jesus.
It should be fun. I'm already kind of like making plans of like, all right, well, if we're down by how much in the fourth quarter, like, how can I beat this traffic to go watch the Clemson LSU game somewhere in town? So if it's a close game in the fourth quarter of my game, I certainly won't leave. But
hey, Castellano says he's gonna make him remember the name.
Build him a statue if he does. Blake, thanks for hanging out, man. I appreciate you, buddy.
No problem. Anytime. Thank you.